Welcome to week 6, Academic Argument, Argumentative Essays. You probably question, why do you need to study argument? After all, the internet often seems as though it is one big shouting match. Arguing is everywhere. But academic argument is different from much of the arguing that happens in day-to-day life. Academic arguments value certain approaches and follow established strategies. Please pause this video to read through the introduction to argumentative essays. An academic argument asserts a claim and supports that claim with evidence. And when I say evidence, evidence from research, literature, or other credible sources. Please pause this video to read through the different types of argumentative essay, which are causal, evaluation, proposal, narrative, rebuttal, and definition. Logical arguments. Argumentative thesis statements. Please pause this video to read through this topic. A strong argumentative thesis statement should take a stance about an issue. It should explain the basics of your argument and help your reader to know what to expect in your essay. An argumentative thesis is debatable, assertive, reasonable, evidence-based, and focused. Logical arguments. Please pause this video to read about logical arguments. An argument is a claim that contains premises which support a conclusion. In analyzing arguments, you can first look for the claim or a statement or opinion on a topic. Also, conclusion is the main claim of an argument, and a premise is a reason offered as support or evidence for another claim. Please pause this video to examine the illustration of inductive and deductive reasoning. Deductive and inductive arguments, two ways of understanding. We have two basic approaches for how we come to believe something is true. The first way is that we are exposed to several examples of a situation, and from those examples, we conclude a general truth, starting with the overall statement and then identifying examples that support it, is known as deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning starts with observations, and from there the author identifies his or her own statement or overall statement. Here's an individual activity. It is non-gradable activity. What is the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning? And summarize the difference between the two in your own words. Analyzing arguments. Sometimes an argument will have an unstated or suppressed premise rather than stating something outright. Argument diagramming. Besides recognizing the use of induction and deduction, you can use diagramming or outlining to develop an understanding of an argument's overall structure. Using the argument's paragraphic to evaluate the premises. An author must organize her material or his material to guide the audience through his or her argument. One tool available to an author is the paragraph. The sentences clustered together in a paragraph should be tightly connected in terms of content. Modes of persuasion. Please pause this video to read through the mode of persuasion called logos. You can see from the word logos a word that we look for when trying to make sense of things, logic. Be sure to pause this video to take notes on the mode of logos to present an argument. Please pause this video to read through the mode of persuasion called logos. The acronym STAR stands for sufficiency, typicality, accuracy, and relevance. These will help you evaluate an argument driven by logos. Pathos. Appeals to pathos. An appeal to pathos is an appeal to someone's emotions. For example, ads for unhealthy fast food are meant to appeal to your sense of hunger and your cravings, not to your logic that warns against such cuisine. We are exposed to appeals to emotions on an almost constant basis, so it is so easy to become numb to such tactics. However, it is important to be aware of such rhetorical strategy, both as readers and writers. Please pause the video to read through this slide called Pathos. Please pause this video to read through this slide called Ethos. Appeals to ethos. Ethos is the defining character or disposition of a person, community, or group. When we refer to ethos as a rhetorical appeal, we are referring to the ways in which credibility or good character is established and maintained. Please pause this video to finish reading the slide on ethos. Here's an individual, non-gradable activity. Find a commercial online for a product. Watch the commercial and describe the company's ethos and their use of pathos and logos. For example, if you selected a commercial for a family minivan, how would the company establish credibility with you as a consumer? How would the company try to use emotion, pathos, or logic, logos, in order to sell you the van? Discuss your thoughts with somebody in class or somebody in your family and take notes. Logical fallacies. Fallacies are errors or tricks of reasoning. We call it an error of reasoning if the fallacy occurs accidentally. We call it a trick of reasoning if a speaker or writer uses the fallacy in order to deceive or manipulate his or her audience. Please pause this video and continue reading about logical fallacies. Common logical fallacies. Please go online and research more about these common logical fallacies. Ad hominem, bandwagon, begging the question, false dichotomy, hasty generalization, post hoc, slippery slope, and straw man. Spotting logical fallacies. When you evaluate an argument for logical fallacies, you consider what elements of the argument, if any, would cause an audience to believe that the argument is illogical or inappropriately manipulative. If you determine that these fallacies have been committed, you should question the credibility of the author and the legitimacy of the argument. If you employ these fallacies when making your own arguments, be aware that they may undermine or destroy your credibility. Counter arguments. An integral part of composing a strong argument is including a counter argument. This can be difficult, especially if a writer is arguing for a position they already agree with. In such cases, writers can sometimes make good points to support their stances. However, their arguments are vulnerable unless they anticipate and address counter-arguments. Please pause this video to continue reading about counter-argument. Let's take a look at examples of rebuttal and refutation and consider how students follow these guidelines to approach counter-arguments to their viewpoints. They accurately represent opposing viewpoints. They use a respectful, non-incendiary tone. They use reliable information, and they use qualifying words. Please pause this video to read through this slide, Organizing an Argument, which consists of introducing your issue, presenting your case, addressing the opposition, providing your proof, and presenting your conclusion. Go ahead and pause the video to read through the slide and take notes. Please pause the video to read through this slide, the Tolman method. Read it carefully and take some notes. Please pause this video to recap what we talked about in this presentation. Here's a quick preview. We learned about constructing a thesis that is focused, debatable, assertive, reasonable, and able to be supported with evidence. And we talk about avoiding logical fallacies, building common ground with the readers, incorporating rebuttal and refutation. And remember that academic argument, as well as effective persuasion in the professional and personal arenas, is guided by careful research and reasoned discourse. The end.